the audio was there in the video, so that's good. You know, today's a more laid back day because, I was working on that issue for a while there, and I kept trying to advocate and speak my message for us targeted individuals, and the audio wasn't there. Then I try again, and it wasn't there. Then I try to fix it and try again, it wasn't there, and so I got kind of behind on my cleaning. So that's where I'm at now. I'm kind of busy, but I would still like to go live, especially now that the audio is working. And I'm looking at the microphone right now. It's not on mute, so should be working. It wasn't on mute before either, though, so hopefully it doesn't go back to that. Okay. Okay. I just had lunch, so feeling kind of full. Yeah, how that goes. I think what I should do is I should make some tea. I think that's a good idea because then I'll be able to talk for a minute. And the video just started, so it's a good time to kind of talk in the beginning, right? Yeah, I feel like the beginning of the video is a good time to, whatever's on my mind, share. I know I had some water over here. Yeah. Then my green tea. Okay. Get that first. Nice. Thank you for joining. All right, thank you for the likes. Whoa, 7 views. Pretty soon I'll be giving like basically a recap on some of the stuff that I was talking about in my previous videos. I'm just making a cup of tea right now because I just had lunch. So yeah, if you don't know, I'm a targeted individual. I deal with noise campaigns. There was a lot of noise campaigns going on recently, and the audio didn't get uploaded, which is fine. I mean, it's not, but you gotta keep going, right? poured my tea. All right. Thank you, everyone, for viewing. I better get in the living room. You know, we've got some views here. Finally, we were heard. That's why. You know what I mean? Okay, so yeah, one thing that I wanted to share with you guys, and I took a note of this earlier, is that like if you're a targeted individual, the metaphor of a bonsai can really, like if you kind of visualize it or think about it, like if it is an oak tree seed, then it's going to be an oak bonsai. Now, it may be limited in its growth, um, and like shaped, right? And in that case, it's shaped for beauty. But a lot of times when you're a target, they surround you in order to agitate and irritate you. So it's, but in the same way, they are trying to basically shape and affect you, right? And affect your mood and your character. Okay, so, but like I said, if you are not a weed, then you don't use drugs, you don't fall off, you don't react. You keep going, you keep trying, you speak out, you fight for others' liberty by speaking out. Your own liberty, their liberty, because if you're going through it and you have empathy, then you know others are going through it as well. And so that will give you motivation and inspiration to keep going. Okay, so with the metaphor of the bonsai, like I said, if it's an oak seed, that bonsai, it may be limited, but it's still going to be an oak, right? So you want to be an oak, okay? So instead of a weed, right? So for example, reacting and letting them, turn your character negative and toxic like what they are, okay? So now I want to talk more about that. It's not you did not consent to be surrounded by people that are being negative and blasting you with music and loud motors, etc. Right? You did not consent, but it doesn't matter to them. They can do that. They can, unfortunately, they can basically do things that they can get away with, but in a crazy amount where it's barely handleable. You can't handle it. And so what you do is you take your attention, do not pay them attention because they do not deserve it. You deserve to continue to do good for yourself and for others. Okay, so I'm very glad that this is able to get out. Hello, everyone. Thank you for the comments. We're getting some comments. All right. Thank you. So yeah, so there's the metaphor of the bonsai. Um, I talked about that. I also talked about, and these are some of the things that I talked about in the videos where the audio was not there. And you know what's interesting? It says 0 views, and I'm getting a lot of comments from different people. So that's interesting. Okay, so anyway, um, but that's fine. And I appreciate the comments, of course. It's just I wonder why I was saying 0 viewers if there's people in here commenting. So, okay, you know, really visualize that metaphor of the bonsai. Remember that if you are enduring this with strength and you're not reacting, there's something special about you. And like I could be wearing like tattered clothes, like I could be in a place that, like, once someone commented on my video, they said poverty Rumi, and I guess Rumi's a philosopher, and I thought it was funny, um, and I'm okay with that because, like I said, actually it's good because it's not something braggable, right? It's not braggable. I don't have like the glitz and the glam, but I don't care about that. Like I'd rather be an oak, even if I have to be a bonsai, than to be, because there are people out there that don't really have the talent, but they're propped up and they have plenty of money for a nice studio and a team of people to work on the ideas for their videos. They don't even have to like they write the video out and they just read it, right? So you can actually make someone look very special. Like that's another thing that I talked about in with gang stalking. They can make you appear a certain way, whether negative or positive, and they do that all the time. And but the reality is, and that's why I bring up the metaphor of the bonsai. If you're an oak, you're an oak. It doesn't matter if they have you in poverty. That is what they've done to you. They held you there. They block you at every turn. Like things never work out. Plus, on the way there, they're harassing you in the car, etc. And then when you get there, they're harassing you, and then it doesn't work out anyway, and there was no point, and you're like drained. You'd spent your energy to do all of that, and nothing came out of it other than they got access to you and abused you psychologically, right? So give yourself credit if you haven't turned to drugs, if you haven't reacted, etc. There's something special there. That means you are an oak, okay? And it doesn't matter if you may appear disheveled or confused. I also mentioned how two people could be in the store. One's a druggie and one's a targeted individual. They both appear confused. The only difference is one of them is on drugs and the other one has been sleep deprived, woken up at night, confused, harassed on the way to get there to the store. Plus the people that are, looking at him like a druggie are actors. Like they're basically they box you in, so they follow you around and try to stress you out, etc. Right? So I'm really trying to convey the message to know your worth, know your value, know who you really are, because they really can make it look different, right? And sometimes even the individual believes, that they're, even when it's not. And so, yeah. But I guess like, yeah, if they say you're crazy or something, and then there could be someone who actually is and someone who isn't. But when it comes to drugs, that's different. Like either you are on drugs or you're not. But yeah. Okay, so the oak tree metaphor, uh, really wanted to convey that message. Please remember that message. Be an oak. Even if they're going to make you a bonsai, which means they're going to limit you and try to shape you, be an oak. Okay, and which means don't react, don't do anything bad, and don't harm yourself or others. Okay, and then now another thing that I talked about is the metaphor of the Statue of Liberty, and she's holding like a book or some paper in her hand, and she also has, which I believe represents like our freedom to educate ourselves, and they should not harass us if we go to the library. They should not put misinformation and disinformation in our streams. That right there, that symbol, that metaphor, like it has to do directly with them like interfering in what we learn. If they're literally putting, and they are, if they're literally putting misinformation for people who've been abused and are looking for answers, they're confused, and then they go on there and they find someone who sounds right, they're speaking like of the things that's happening to them, and they mix it with some toxic information that's disinformation, not true, gonna make them look crazy, right? So she has the, information in her hand, and then she also has the spikes, okay, big spikes coming out of her head. I think it's quite clear what the message is there, and I think they are, not respecting that culture, or not like carrying that tradition on, right, as we should, because it was so good for people back then. And I also talked about how that may have made them comfortable and maybe even made them lose sight of that. And now they're even not only giving us different disinformation, but they're also shadow banning us. By the way, she also has a torch in her hand. So that visual is a good one to remember. Yeah. Okay, so I really wanted to recap a lot of this information. You've got the metaphor of the bonsai, how they may limit us, try to shape us, etc. But be an oak. Like if you're an oak, you're an oak. You're not a weed. And even if you're in poverty, you've got tattered clothes, whatever, you still are what you are. Um, and the metaphor of Statue of Liberty, which speaks to like our right to freedom from oppression and like basically, the powers that be forcing us to go their way, right? So, and that's exactly what happens to targeted individuals. Like they're harassed. Like when they try to do something good, they get attacked, harassed. Like you're trying to work out and you get noise campaigns, and you're trying to study noise campaigns and street theater, etc. Distractions, slowdowns, blocks, etc. So like it really is a very good ideal to really hold on to and be aware of. Um, and also be aware that what they are doing goes in direct opposition to the message behind the Statue of Liberty, liberty itself. What they're doing is basically robbing us of our liberty and our freedom. So, okay, so that's a lot of what I had mentioned in the previous videos. The audio was taken out, and I was getting noise campaigns the whole time. Crazy noise campaigns. But yeah. Thank you. Okay, so I felt like I have to kind of in the beginning of the video get this message out there. That way, if someone watches later, they're gonna kind of get a recap of what they missed in those videos that had the audio removed. Um, and I probably could get back to cleaning now because I feel like I mentioned a lot of it, and if something else comes to my mind, I'll try to mention it. But yeah, the metaphor of the bonsai, the Statue of Liberty, and the message behind it, and the definition of liberty, it's very important. And it also, like what's happening to us as targeted individuals who are experience organized harassment, what's happening to us is going in direct opposition to the actual message. And there's actually a lot of different things that ways that people interpret the message, but I looked the definition up, so I thought I should share about that. Okay, so and it speaks about our right to freedom and to not be oppressed by the powers that be, and so I'll even get my. Let me look it up in the dictionary. Why not? Again, I did while I was live last time, but no audio. I think freedom of thought is a big part of the message behind the Statue of Liberty. And if you look at it, that is obvious. If only I could find, let's see, and I will. I'm gonna stop until I do. There it is. Wait, is that it? No. Let's just. Okay, so I have another device around here somewhere, but the thing is, um, I've been like speaking out and trying to advocate for targeted individuals day after day, and the audio was removed. I'm getting noise campaigns, and I tried again because the audio was removed. Like I'd fix something and try again, fix something, try again, try a different phone, and each time the audio was removed, and I had been talking for like hours each time. So so I got behind on my cleaning, which is one of the reasons that it might take a while to find that phone. And so therefore what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get straight into cleaning. I just had to get the message out, recap basically. I hope that was a good segment because it's kind of like condensed of a lot of information. So if you watch this video live, make sure to watch this video back because most of the information I recapped the past few days in the beginning. Okay. Please subscribe and please click the bell so that you get notifications when I go live. I'm happy that I said that. That's something I've been thinking of. I've been thinking I gotta let people know to click the bell, then they'll be able to know when I go live. Okay. I'm so glad I'm having some tea. Oh, thank God. I had some pasta and I'm full, food coma. But man, the metaphor of a bonsai for targeted individuals is a really good one because, no matter how it appears, like even if you're wearing raggedy, tattered clothes or it looks like you're in poverty or whatever, it's actually not at all a reflection of your potential. If you're being harassed, noise harassed, sleep deprived, psychologically attacked when you go anywhere, when you try to build something, they break it down, and you got to start over and start over and start over, then the poverty is a reflection of that abuse. You see how things can actually be different than they look? And I also, spoke about how, someone might look like they're on drugs and actually they've been sleep deprived and attacked, etc. I talked about that earlier, so I won't go over that again. Yeah. Excuse me. Oh my God. That tea is so good. And you know what? Tea and coffee both give me a boost, but tea, like, I feel good after I drink tea. After I drink coffee, I get like an acidic stomach and kind of heartburn. So, thank you. Whoa, someone said I don't understand English, but I like your stream. I wish they would have let me know what language they speak. And I still greatly appreciate that comment. Thank you very much. Thank you. And merci, and gracias, maraming salamat, and domo arigato gozaimasu. I'm not sure which one they speak, but yeah, because sometimes I do post hashtags in the languages that I love to learn. And I care about the people in those places. I know that there are some people there in those places who are also going through what I'm going through. And so I would like to use what I've learned to share that with them as well. Okay, I'll get back to what I'm doing. Oh yeah, that reminded me of something. I also talked about how this global system is spreading out, and I really want to find my other phone for that segment though. So let me just keep playing. I'm gonna kind of focus, and I'll share one more thing. So a lot of times gang stalkers use colors, numbers, and hand signals. Okay, I wanted to remind you that you can take your power back. Um, Meditate on and visualize those colors as something positive and helpful. Now, when you experience those again from a gang stalker, they, I want to be real here, they may actually have negative intentions and they may do that in a negative way, right? But um, that is them, right? So, what I'm telling you is you meditate on it, you focus and uh, visualize that color, number, whatever it may be, as something good and healing for you. And there are always good aspects to these things. So, for example, one thing, hand signals, right? Or colors, right? So, for example, the way that this got brought up is that my water filter has a red, it has red on it. And sometimes I think, oh, it's red. And, targets may be watching this and they may be sensitized to that. But I thought the right solution is not to kind of like hide that every single time, but rather to help them to heal that. Make them aware that they have purposely done that trauma to you. They purposely sensitized you to the color red, rojo, or rouge, I think, or, is it pula? Okay, so uh, it's okay. Just, for example, red can be calming. I can even share a story with you. Did you know that humans, and this is important, human beings used to see thousands of years ago in black and white? Red was the first color we started to see when we would see berries, cranberries, or whatever. And then everything's black and white, and there's the berries way over there, and we're gonna eat because, those individuals could see red. So important. So red for humans is very noticeable. That's why they use that. That's why they use that on you. It's very noticeable. So you need to take that power back, heal that trauma, let go of what they're doing. Red is our first color that we saw, okay, and it helped us to survive. We're gifted with that. God gave us a gift. It made it easier for us to eat, okay? Very important to realize that, and then, visualize that, and it's actually known to be like a grounding color. So calming, slow, calm, breathe, okay? That's the reality. So, get back to that reality and erase that illusion they've created to harm you, okay? Now, another thing is hand signals. Hello, thank you. What language do you speak? I don't know if people understand that. Thank you. Okay, so another one is hand signals, right? So with hand signals, um, they may use those on us, and I won't get too much into this, but basically, okay, all right. I don't speak any of that, but thank you for watching. I greatly appreciate it. It's an honor to have people around the world viewing my channel. Targeted individuals can be rather isolated, so for us to be able to reach out is very healing and helpful. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So, for example, this hand signal, who knows what they may have told you it is, but really it's focus. Focus. And it's very similar to the prayer, right? And this is another one, prayer. and it's good. And that's basically what I wanted to let you know is, heal whatever traumas they tried to instill in you. Okay? Okay. Now, okay. So those are some of the things that I remembered. Those are some of the things that I remembered. And you know what? Now that we have people from other countries joining the stream, I want to make sure that I speak clearly. It's important to me because there are people all over the world suffering, and I'm aware that here in America there are probably some limitations. Targeted individuals know that that line is way further than most people think that they can cross, but it could be a lot worse in other places for other people. So I want to use any comforts that I have to make sure, like, I know I'm going through a lot, but I just really want to give this everything that I have. Okay, so I wanted to mention that. I also wanted to say that, yeah, if I think of something, I remember something from the previous live streams, I'll try to mention it. Other than that, I will try to focus on finding that phone and getting organized. It's very important for us as targeted individuals to be organized, clean, because it is less confusing of an environment. I talked also about us not working with them, but working to help ourselves and others. Right? Don't pay them your attention. Because there are people who need your help, and you're one of them. If you're a target, you're one of the people that needs your help. And it may sound funny, but you could actually become your own worst enemy. And that's what they're trying to nudge you into. Don't let them do that. Okay, here we go. All right. So, very good, very good. Getting my pasta, putting my pasta away. My green tea's done. Remember to stretch. A flexible body helps you to be flexible emotionally. If you're tight and you're experiencing pain because of it, any noise campaign is going to be more effective on you. If you're loose and flexible because you've been stretching, any noise campaign is going to be less effective on you. Without the pain, right? Without the tightness. So this is my lettuce, and something that I wanted to say about lettuce is people always consider lettuce as a salad thing, but you know what? It actually adds a really good crunch to soup. If you're done cooking the soup and you add it, it adds a really good crunch. You add it fresh, which I found like actually better than salad. And then what was the other? Especially, and salad has oil, so it's interesting because you're pouring oil on it. instead of soup, it works better, and it's less calories than something oily, depending on how much dressing you put. But anyway, um, and then even still, even if the calories were higher in the soup, the thing is, it's mostly water, so you're gonna be so full, right? Whereas with the salad, you might be hungry again soon. So yeah, you can also use it in soup, but you can also, what was I gonna say? Use it in a smoothie. And so something like spinach will be barely noticeable. Spinach in a smoothie, it's not noticeable. Fresh, it's not. Barely. Maybe I'm used to it, but honestly, I don't think it's that noticeable. Okay. Now lettuce might be a little more noticeable. So it's got like a slight sweetness, and it also adds like a frothiness. So if you were gonna make coffee, I mean, it's got a powerful flavor already. Coffee does, so it's gonna overpower that flavor. But there will be a little more sweetness and frothiness as well. Good for coffee. You want to know something funny? Once previously, when I was talking about adding lettuce to my coffee, I had a viewer, and then they left. I thought that was so funny, but it's all good. Like, it really is helpful, though. Deepening my focus somewhat. I really want to find that phone. I found some extra tea. That's good. Saves the trip. Okay, so I've got this spot organized enough to know that the phone is probably not over here. So I guess I'll move around. All right, found it. Okay, so I wanted to bring up an image of the Statue of Liberty because I feel like this visual is so important for us as targeted individuals. I was speaking of the Statue of Liberty earlier, which, by the way, I like to mention is a gift from France to us in the United States of America. And really, I believe that it's a good message for the whole world. And, the visual is quite metaphorical, right? Like I mean, it's intuitive, is what I want to say. Like when you look at it. So, for example, Apple's interface on the Apple iPhone is known to be intuitive. Like maybe if someone's elderly and they're not so familiar with electronics, but then when iPhone came out, it was quite simple to intuitively understand. Like you open it, and then if you're looking for the Notes app looked like a notebook, and then you just tap it and it opens. You see how it's simple to understand? Well, the Statue of Liberty is also quite intuitive. Here you have the information. On her head, you can see those spikes. And then you have the torch. And I talked earlier in the video about my interpretation. Well, I think it's a simple and intuitive interpretation. Okay, so I just wanted to I mentioned earlier the languages that I'm learning, which include French, Tagalog, which is Filipino, uh, in Tagalog, and then Spanish, um, of course English, some Italian, and I try to limit them because if I keep adding more, I will never finish one, right? So, but anyway, let me get to. I remember I kept wanting to learn more and more languages, and I still do. Like, I still do want to expand, but the thing is, I have to complete the ones that I've started on because it adds a whole world of like need of immersion. Let me and I also talked about how the people there are also experiencing gang stalking. There are targeted individuals in those places. Uh, the Statue of Liberty was a gift from France to the United States of America, and I feel like it has a rather intuitive message when you look at it. It is a very powerful message and a very necessary message for the world as it is now changing rapidly.
La liberté était un cadeau de la France aux États-Unis d'Amérique. Et j'ai le sentiment qu'elle véhicule un message assez intuitif. Quand on la regarde, c'est un message très fort et essentiel pour le monde d'aujourd'hui, qui évolue si rapidement.
Bon, merci beaucoup. French is a language that I really want to practice a lot more. That's why I'm doing this. I really want to become more familiar with French because it's an advanced language with like an advanced spelling system and also an advanced like pronunciation system. So I want to make sure that I immerse myself and hear this more. And I know that I've seen a lot of propaganda about France, and they've like when I scroll on YouTube or TikTok, like I've seen some like negative perspectives, and what I think about I don't first of all have a critical eye for what they're trying to tell me in the stream, and also it actually just brings, even if it is bad there for targeted individuals, it just makes me feel compassion for uh, the francophone countries such as France and Canada, etc. So so yeah, I feel even more inspired to familiarize myself with the French language.
La Statue de la Liberté était un cadeau de la France aux États-Unis d'Amérique. Et j'ai le sentiment qu'elle véhicule un message assez intuitif. Quand on la regarde, c'est un message très fort et essentiel pour le monde d'aujourd'hui, qui évolue si rapidement.
I am aware that there are also targeted individuals in francophone countries, and I wanted to share the message that we, as targeted individuals, have had so much liberty and freedom taken away from us that we actually have a lot in common. We have a common cause and a lot of camaraderie, and it is important that we unite. It would be very powerful for us, and this is why they try to spread negative propaganda and separate and divide us. We cannot let that happen.
Je sais que des personnes sont également visées dans les pays francophones, et je voulais partager ce message. Nous, personnes visées, avons été tellement privés de liberté que nous avons en réalité beaucoup en commun. Nous partageons une cause commune et une grande camaraderie, et il est important que nous nous unissions. Cela nous donnerait une force immense. C'est pourquoi ils tentent de diffuser une propagande négative et de nous diviser. Nous ne pouvons pas laisser faire.
Okay, hello also to my friends in the UK. It is an honor to have any French speakers or anyone from the UK here, or really anyone from around the world. Like I'm sure you know and can relate, if you're a targeted individual, really having anyone to connect with when they've isolated you is already such a privilege, but then having people from all around the world who also know what you're going through, it's an honor, so thank you very much. Awesome. Yeah, it's a good cause, and I spoke in a previous video about how uh, it can be even more motivational and inspiring when you're trying to help others. Like, because sometimes when you think about it in your own perspective, like it can be heavy, like what you're going through, etc. But then when you think about others are going through this as well, and you realize how bad it is, so it can be very inspiring for you to help them and be there for them. Okay, so I'm glad that I found my phone by organizing the house. I highly recommend, especially if you're noticing like, oh, if you lost an item or something, it's time to organize everything, put everything in its place. I did find my phone by doing that. That's another thing. It's better when you lose something, it's better not to look for it all day. It's better to organize your house. And in the process, you'll find it. but your house will be organized. Like now everything's in its place and you're not losing stuff and searching all day. We need to conserve as much time as we can. They not only like to divide us because it makes us easier to abuse, and when we're isolated, they want to silence us. We don't have connections. That's worse for us. But another thing is, if we're confused or if we let them affect us by paying them our attention, it may start to affect our self-care, our organization, and then a cycle begins, because then you're looking for stuff all day, and you're getting noise campaigns while you're trying to look for it, and that's stressful even more. And you see, and so then another layer, so you can see why they do what they do. And so I wanted to tell you, first of all, take your attention off of them immediately. Second, make sure your area is organized. It's such a favor to yourself. And I spoke earlier about how we don't consent or choose to have people surrounding us that are trying to spew toxicity or noise campaigns or street theater, but they have free will. And what is some noise? Like, they just made some noise, but then if they do it every single day, they're using that loophole of, I can make noise, but then every day and everywhere you go, and then noise is not the only thing, they add other things, and you can see how it's going to be very important for you to not pay attention to them and be your own best friend. All right, I got some coffee here. Someone said they're outside my home and asked if they can come in. I'm gonna assume that's a joke, right? And what would I say? I mean, isn't that... I'm assuming it's a joke. And I would also say no. And I would also say, that of course I would say no, as I don't know you and you've never said anything other than that to me. Like, my first meeting you, the first thing I've ever seen you say here is, I'm outside your home, can I come in? It's kind of weird. No offense, no offense, but I'm assuming it's a joke anyway, so. And before I said no, I was kind of thinking okay, be an example for targets, because boundaries are very important for us. And then I gave an example of the reason, right? That's important. Oh yeah, and I'm gonna try not to read comments back, because I've seen a lot of videos where they'll write something and then it sounds one way. They'll get them to say something And so far here, I think it's just been funny. I haven't really experienced like, I don't think I have. Maybe I have, but I take things literal, which would be kind of make it even so. I probably shouldn't read them except to myself, and then I can answer appropriately. But yeah. I'm from the United States. And I'm a targeted individual, and there's targeted individuals all around the world, and I'm here for them. Like, I'm dedicated to constantly giving my energy to them instead of to gang stalkers. And what I mean by that is basically speaking out and advocating for the cause. Yeah, let's stay positive and keep going. And I talked a lot earlier about how, like, no matter how things look and how your situation looks, like, if they've done this to you, it's not your fault. Have compassion on yourself, but also you can feel some, like, awareness of your strength, your perseverance, you know. So yeah, take that into consideration. That being said, I hope this program is one day no longer allowed. Like, we should be allowed our liberty. We should be allowed our freedom. Wow, awesome. I'm so glad that, like, my audio is working. And you guys, thank you so much for sticking around when my audio wasn't even working. I greatly appreciate that. And thank you for 4 likes, because it's really good to see that when the audio is working, I get even more likes and even more people sticking around. And yeah, like, this is just the beginning. This is just the beginning. I will continue to work diligently. Like I said in a previous video, but there was no audio. Like, I will literally be a slave to this cause. Like happily, I will slave away. Um, and not only that, but I'm also going through. So what I meant by that is I'm going to try as hard as I can. But then I also go through, organized harassment. And I was just thinking, like, during that video, I was thinking, like, oh, wouldn't it be nice if, like, I could use my energy and efforts without all the sabotage and distraction and stuff. But I won't speak on that too much because it gets, like, doom and gloom when you think about it. Like, I try not to think about what I could achieve if, like, for example, I was talking earlier about how someone could have, like, a stretching channel. Like, sometimes I stretch on here, or I talk about health food. They have a health food channel, right? And they've got a team of people who cleans their house, paints it up. Their studio is paid for. They got a lot of money. They're propped up. They've got a team of people writing their content, and all they have to do is read it. Like, and they look legit. Like, they'll have fans. Like, people believe in them, but in reality, like, if you're a target, even if it looks like you're in poverty, like someone once called me poverty Rumi. He's a philosopher, and I guess they were saying I'm like a. I mean, I wouldn't compare myself to someone great or a philosopher or anything, but I didn't take it as an insult, because the poverty is not my fault. Like, I'm being held in oppression, I'm being harassed, and I can prove it. I can work diligently at expressing myself and using all of the gifts that God gave me, uh, as far as language goes, or whatever gift I may have, right? I can use it, and I can keep putting effort and keep putting effort. And yeah, so my point basically is someone like that, like a target, excuse me, if they were supported in the same way that someone who actually didn't even have talent or passion for that, um, just imagine, right? But I try not to dwell on that. The only reason that I bring it up is just to mention that it doesn't really matter about the nice studio and more views, etc., if it's not real and you actually aren't even passionate about it, or you really don't have that talent and you can have like imposter syndrome, etc. Versus, excuse me, if you're a target, but you know that you are putting diligent effort into this and you're passionate about it, you're passionate about advocating, etc., then you are what you are. And I mentioned the metaphor of a bonsai, right? If it's an oak, it's an oak. If it's an oak seed, it will be limited in its growth, but it's still gonna be an oak. Okay, so now I had some katsufumi, which is seaweed, dried seaweed, and some other stuff in there, and it was kind of getting my throat. And I know that that's one of the triggers they sometimes use on people. I just wanted to let you know. Because I know people that have a condition where they have to do that. And they, explain that. So I thought I would also explain. But again, I also want to add to that. Anytime you have triggers that they've created in you, that's a trauma where they tied that with something negative that they did, and then it gets brought up again. And what you need to do is unpack and heal that, release that, and actually turn it into something positive. Like, for example, color sensitization. And I talked about that earlier. So it's there in the video. But yeah, that's the point. Okay, a little bit more organization. Yeah, so like I don't want to be rude. If somebody did that sound and then I've been traumatized and sensitized to that and then they did that sound, but they have a condition, right? And then I don't want to take it the wrong way. And I also want to mention for targets out there, because I've heard people talk about, and then you kind of think, well, there are times when people are legit doing that on purpose and tying it in with something mean that they do. So I wanted to also mention that I know they do that, but the reason they do that is to create another trigger and another trigger that you'll see. And sometimes it is them, right? I'm aware of that. But Even when it is them, what you do then is you don't pay your attention to them. Why would you care so deeply that you're allowing them to traumatize you about somebody who wants to traumatize you, who wants to abuse you? Remember that. Remember that in negative intention, that ill will, and you will care less about what their intentions are. And you'll focus on your own good. So that would be like for example, that would be when they kind of made it obvious. Maybe they did the game stalker smirk when they're creating that trigger or whatever, right? That's in the case where it's obvious. Okay, that's when you're like, okay, well, your intentions are quite clear. That's not gonna, hurt me because that's really toxic. I don't care. And that takes practice, but it works. This is awesome, getting stuff done, moving around, but also advocating and being here for others, as well as myself. Our cause is the same, and we go through the same stuff. You know what? Since my videos weren't working and the audio wasn't working, I went and bought a new microphone, and the next day it's working again. This is the kind, like, I put so much energy into it that I was absolutely drained. I kept trying again and again to get this message out, and I kept trying to get it. And I'd also research, so that's energy, and then I'd also attempt to like fix it, and nothing was even wrong, so that's draining. And then I bought a new microphone as a last resort, and the next day it's working. And that's the kind of stuff that you'll constantly run into as a targeted individual. And I'm not saying that it wasn't a technical difficulty, but if you're a target, when you know, in reference to how it's just too coincidental that every single day, if it's not one thing, it's another, and usually it's both and then some. Thank you for the likes, everyone. This might turn out to be my most liked video ever. And I'm very grateful because, I've been actually formulating these ideas and opinions through a lot of chaos, a lot of noise, and none of it was like uploaded. But at least I have a lot of like ideas that I came up with, and I was able to kind of compress those into this single video. All right. I'm gonna wipe down the counter. Oh, you know what? I just realized I should probably sit down. Like, I enjoy advocating so much that, like, I don't feel any pain in my legs from being tired or in my back, even if it is. Like, I don't feel it. Like, but anyway, I just wanted to make sure that I don't get to that point. But I do want to wipe the counter first. And I was thinking, I'm glad that I'm walking and moving around while I'm doing this. They say a body in motion stays in motion. It's funny that I say that right before I'm about to sit down. Okay, I'll be right back. All right. I have some good news, and that is, okay, so I mentioned this in previous videos. I keep having to repeat myself because there was no audio, right? So another one thing that I mentioned was, oh, thank God for this massage chair. Let me tell you, I'm feeling it in my back now. All of a sudden. Okay, so one thing, and thank you everyone for the likes. Thank you for the comments. I can't quite see them. I'm kind of when it's in the distance, it's blurry, but that's actually good because, like I've been reading, like the phone in the past few days, and I've been getting eye strain. I have a device for that. I'll show you later. But before I lose my train of thought, what was I gonna say? The good news, yeah. What was it? I don't know. The good news is I'm able to sit down. Oh, thank God. Oh my God. Okay. Oh, I highly recommend a massage chair. Oh my God. I highly recommend a massage. And by the way, a massage chair sounds really expensive, right? But this isn't a massage chair. Actually, it's just a normal chair. And then you get this like massage thing that you put on the chair, and it's not that expensive. So that's why I want to recommend it. I'm a targeted individual. I'm in poverty. Sometimes I'm surprised, like when I see targeted individuals that are like, it looks like they're living quite luxurious and they're not getting noise campaigns and stuff, but still, I don't judge. And I wouldn't call anyone out, no, because you never know. You never know what they're going through. And yeah, so like, even if you're not in poverty, it could still be happening, etc. But sometimes it's just like, wow, it just seems so comfortable. Like, I don't know. I feel like they probably know if they let me have that level of comfort, I would probably work. I don't want to curse or anything or cuss. But okay, so I wonder what it was that I was going to say. The good news. What was that? Well, I got a microphone, but that wasn't it. That is good news, though. There's a lot of good news. I get to sit down, take a break. My audio's working again. I got more likes than I've got in a while. I'm starting to get regulars. And I was feeling like it's so interesting that when my dedication levels are so serious and my commitment levels to this cause become so serious, I start getting regulars showing up. And so I was like, that's probably not a coincidence. And it's a good, it's a good thing that happened. It's like one of those, you put this you put out good and you get good back. And man, as a target, that sure is nice because typically, uh, you put good out and you get fake back. They try to make it not matter. They try to twist it. They try to take away. They try to make you feel like you did good and it won't matter. So don't, right? That's important. I really want you to contemplate that. I'm even going to take a breather so you can contemplate that because they do that. You'll do something good or say something nice, and they'll find a way to kind of like see it. They can see it in that was rude. And then you go from, you know, like it's inhumane. It's a subtle, inhumane thing to do because, humans, we like to put good out and also we like to give good back when someone does something good. But they're purposely, they've already singled you out, they've targeted you. And so they're purposely acting as if they took it another way. They didn't. That's fake. Who cares? But when you're first a target, they'll do that all the time, and it really will hurt. Like you'll try even harder. You might get Stockholm, slight case of Stockholm syndrome, and try even harder. And it's like you finally realize that, oh wait, they know. They just keep rolling with that because it's working. And they'll act like you're mean or whatever or rude or whatever. But reality is they've decided you're empathetic, which is why they would use that tactic. Otherwise, they wouldn't. If they really decided you're rude and don't care, they wouldn't waste their time. They've decided you do care, so they're going to act like they took it the wrong way. These are the type of things you learn as a targeted individual. And that's very important. That's something to contemplate because you need to understand that. Like, you need to really kind of like really get the gist of that. That way, when you run into it, it has, and I talked about something like this recently. Let me clarify that. It has lost its power. Now, what I talked about recently that was like that is when you are aware, like let's say you're in a movie, right? And you're in the like you're not in the movie, but like you've suspended disbelief and you're really like enjoying the movie, right? Well, let's say that they start to persuade or try to influence, they attempt to influence your political or like your view, right? So let's say when I say political, like for example, like you believe that individuals should not be targeted with organized harassment, and they're basically trying to put it as an okay thing or normalize it or whatever in this movie, which I don't think I've seen. Like actually, usually in movies when they give examples, they're for example, the Truman Show, right? You can feel for him, right? They didn't actually. It doesn't seem like they put it in a positive light, right? But let's say they were putting it in a positive light. But then they start to play this music that really tries to influence you as like it's inspirational music, like wow. But you're against that message, and all of a sudden you notice that they're playing this music when this is not okay. This music doesn't go with that message. That's a terrible message. See what I'm saying? You're no longer in the movie, as far as like you see what I'm saying. When you become mindful of their attempt to sway your emotions, it loses power. I want to make that clear because if you're hungry or you're maybe let's say you're starting to have like an argument with someone somewhere, street theater actors that are watching you and are like trying to annoy you already, oh my god, get ready. They've already got certain scripts and everything. They're gonna start putting if they know you're impatient or they know you're prone to anger, whatever it is, they're gonna press that button right then. Soon as they see you start to get upset at someone, they realize you're hungry or you're in a bad mood or what. Oh, and they're gonna do the theater has begun. Lights, camera, action on you. Totally inhumane. Totally like a setup. Inhumane, corrupt. Nobody deserves to be against a whole group of people smearing them and creating this false narrative, putting them in a bad light, and then throwing those arrows, shooting those arrows. That's what it is. And then they hide their hands when shit goes down. Excuse my language. I don't want to cuss, but when stuff goes down, they hide their hands as if, oh, it's all you. Everything they did was already pre-calculated, premeditated. They collaborated. It's devious, devious. Now, my point here is to let you know if you're aware of these methods, then just like in the movie, when they try to influence you with the music, because by the way, the music is like 80% of your emotional feelings during the movie. So if they try to do a noise campaign or whatever, street theater, and you're aware that they try to do that when, they try to do that and you can bring that to your awareness, it dispels that. And I'm so glad that word came to my mind. It didn't actually come to my mind earlier. And it is like a form of witchcraft, right? It's like a real witchcraft. It's not fake. It's not magical. They're not like putting us they're not in their house doing some kind of incantation because that would do nothing. That's not real. They are actually triggering you. They are actually putting their energy into making you step out of character. And really, they're partaking. They are meddling and influencing you, but they're gonna hide that. So all that will be seen is your reaction. Um, and I'm just trying to clarify this, and I am really going into detail on it because it's so valuable. Once it clicks, and even for us who already know, like even for us who already know about this, speaking on it or hearing it again is a refresher, and we need it because guess what? They're gonna try it again, no matter what. Even if they have seen that you've realized, they don't stop. Even if they've seen that you're innocent, you're a good person, they don't stop. Actually, that's why they keep going because they know you're innocent, they know you're a good person, so they feel like they have to do that when you're their target. And I don't know if I don't want to get into their psychology, right? Like if it's narcissism or what is wrong with it. I don't want to get into that. I feel like it's getting into the weeds. And I feel like they kind of do that and they kind of try to psychologize people and they're totally wrong. And it's such a mischaracterization so often that it really has kind of, I don't like to, you know, what I do is I try to be rational. I see that they're psychologically abusing me. That's a fact. Okay, that I can talk about. But then getting into, all the more woo woo stuff, the out there stuff that they do that they do that to you and it's way off. So I don't know, you know, these are some of the gifts that you learn about. You know, like for example, being critical minded. You know, there are a lot of people out there, and I think maybe even some gang stalkers who are they're really bought in. They're man, they've been hit so often, so frequently with this propaganda. I wouldn't say gang stalkers, but like like okay, so there's targeted individuals, and then there's levels, right? And I think the level of like the least intense and the more hidden covert is the biggest group. Targets that get hardcore, that get the overt, obvious stuff is probably a smaller group, but still, I think rather large, quite large, and actually global. So, actually, very large. But you would probably be surprised at the amount of people that do get propaganda, they get their beliefs influenced. Like I mentioned in a previous video, the audio wasn't uploaded, but I mentioned that people used to hear from commercials that which cigarettes doctors recommended most. And in magazines, they would say, sugar helps you to lose weight. Okay, those are some examples. Um, and that was way back when that they thought cigarettes were healthy and sugar helps you lose weight. And guess what? We know better now. And guess what? TVs were never thrown into the freaking abyss. People didn't find out and then be like, yo, they were telling us that something that kills us is doctor recommended. And then throw the TVs in the. No. They evolved and they got closer to your face. And now they have a camera. So even if you decided, you know, you know, you can have an apple or you can have apple juice. You can have cranberry juice, orange juice. But orange juice is man-made and an orange is natural. If they just decided that okay, they're actually safe because sugar is it's more dangerous than you think, it's a white powder amongst other white powders, and it can be very dangerous in excess. And when you eat the orange, you're eating the fiber, and the nutrients that the juice has are actually activated by that fiber. And that's something that people usually even overlook. It's we all know that the fiber, it fills you up, and the juice is just the sweetness. And then, but what a lot of people don't know is a lot of those vitamins in that orange juice are activated in synchronicity with these other elements in the orange itself that you eat. Okay. So now what my point there is back then the TV didn't have a camera on it, and if they decided that and they were a dissident, they were a free thinker, and they weren't going along, and they weren't giving up their money. They weren't saying, take my money and I'll allow you to kill me without getting punished. And it looks as if though it was, my choice, right? And choice is a big word that I talked about, by the way. Back then it was, like I said, there's no camera on your TV, and you did have a choice. And I think choice is still something that we somewhat have access to. Like, I know that I can eat healthy food, cabbage, mushrooms, but it's a much more slippery slope, and they know you. They can see you if they want, if they actually try, if they want to, they can, and they can. I won't get into that anymore, into the weeds, but I'm sure you already know. Modern day is a lot even more sophisticated as far as technology goes, and TVs did evolve. They can get rid of them, but those people who made the right choices are probably still here. Like an oak, and let's see. So those are some of the ideas that I had to share in my previous videos. I'll take a breather. Maybe something else will come to me that I mentioned, or maybe another idea. I am so glad that the audio is working. Oh, okay. I remember the good news that I had to share earlier. Praise the Lord. Okay, so I've been eating healthier. All of this focusing on, excuse me, focusing on advocacy has really, like, time flies. Like, I could eat a healthy meal, and if I go on here and advocate, it's next thing you know, it's hours later. And the last meal I had was very healthy, and I'm like really hungry because it was mostly vegetables or whatever. And hunger hits, and it's actually a good feeling for multiple reasons. One of them is, when I was eating like less healthily, okay, so when I was like feeling more affected by the organized harassment, um, and it took a lot of years, it took a lot of severe pain and suffering and abuse, um, and even medical neglect. And by the way, when I spoke on the medical neglect, uh, I said, I joked, and the audio was removed. I didn't know that at the time. And I spoke on the medical neglect, and then I joked that, oh, I'm surprised we didn't get a helicopter after that one. What do you know? Two different flyovers happened right after that. And I was so energized, and I was like laughing about it because, like, I just said that. And what do you know? Like, boom, it was so draining when the audio wasn't there. It was like something that I never experienced. Like the unfairness of it was like, and if that happened again, I don't think it would hit me the same way, but it hit. Because I had really spent a lot of energy on that video. I was like, all right, we got proof here, man. And then, and the microphone was on. The microphone was working. Like, they even let me upload, like when you upload your live stream, when your live stream's done and you're gonna click upload, it says, would you like to upload this clip from the live? I don't know how they decide on what part, but they share a part of it, and I was like, okay. And that is just a clip, so it uploaded fast, and you know what, the audio was there. So the microphone was not on mute, the microphone was working even during that live. It was working. It was removed, and it's almost like they wanted me to know that it was working, and they removed that. They did that, and it's not funny, by the way. Sometimes I see people, targets, like laugh at this stuff, and I think when I see them laugh at it, I was like, but you know, philosophically, it is the right thing to do. It's the best medicine, etc. But sometimes it's like, how could you laugh at it? It's so difficult, but hey, even I myself am able to laugh at it sometimes, and guess what? Actually, it's probably the right, if you can try. And I kept mentioning, like, I remember I was mentioning, I may have gotten off track here, but that's fine. I remember I was mentioning this song that I was hearing when I was scrolling. They were like, surprise, surprise, right? She's standing there, surprise, surprise. There's a song that they kept showing, and whenever a king sucker would go by with boom, boom, loud music, right when I'm like really starting to like have an idea, and then all of a sudden I would, or the helicopter goes by when I speak on medical abuse, right? I'll be like, surprise, surprise, because it's sarcasm. It's not a surprise. That's a joke. Like, it's not a surprise. If you're a targeted individual, you know what I'm talking about. How it's not a surprise at all. You can predict it. And it's not you predicting it because there's no such thing. It's just that that is what always happens. And so that's why it's funny when you say surprise, surprise. But anyway, I kind of think I got off track there, but I had to mention that. Okay, I'm gonna turn my massage chair back on. I think I was talking about like my diet is working. So I started cooking in order to ground myself. It's a good activity that you really focus on, and you kind of like ignore the gang stalkers that way. So I really found it helpful. But then like my family really liked my food, and I did too. So I was like eating a lot more than normal. I even started doing mukbang videos, and I gained some weight, and I felt like, I mentioned this a lot. As targeted individuals, we don't have room for like mess ups, mistakes like gaining weight or, for example, not brushing your teeth at night. You have to. You have to brush your teeth. You have to and eat healthy and like maybe slack on organization, all those things. Like you have to be, well, I don't want to say you have to, but like as a target, it's not the same, right? Like other people can slack and then they're propped up, they'll be helped, and it's nothing to them. They can do that, whereas we can't. We've already got enough people working against us, collaborating against us, and we're only human. We're only one individual, and that's a group of people. You think you have room to like slack? We don't. We don't. And it appears as if though they have limitations and lines that they cannot cross. So we need to take advantage of that, right? And there should be more. They already cross lines that they should not cross. So for example, a line that they haven't seemed to cross is they haven't walked in my house and stolen all my healthy food and taken choice away. Remember I was talking about choice? They haven't done that. And so, if I have the opportunity to make that choice to be healthy, I decided to make that choice because I've already got a group of people working against me in ways that I don't even know. They're having negative conversations with ill will and negative intent in rooms that I'm not aware of. And I don't need to be working against myself as well because that would be like, I feel like that's their goal. And a lot of people talk about that when you're a target. Like they want you to do this to yourself, and they will make everything so uncomfortable and everything so seemingly impossible. Even things you do good, they will try to spin them as something rude or bad. That way it seems pointless, but it's not. Because if you're an oak, be an oak. It doesn't matter how they're making it look. Continue. Okay, so I want to make that very clear. Anyway, I brought up the diet topic because I was feeling hungry. And I was talking about it for a good minute there, and now I feel super hungry. I feel like I'm so glad to have gotten all of this out. The information that I have tried to share, but my audio wasn't there. I'm glad to have gotten this out. And I've become quite hungry in the process. What was I eating? Oh yeah, I had some macaroni and cheese, which was so good. I used shell pasta. The shells. That's so good with like a really good creamy cheesy sauce that I made myself, homemade. And I haven't been eating like really good meals like that. Like, well, they're all really good. But I've been eating very low calorie, like consistently. So to have a meal like that was like a real treat. And by the way, that's one of the best aspects of a diet is like when I wasn't dieting, when I kind of fell off, and I was mentioning that earlier, I may not have gotten to the point, and now I am, which was eventually I was just like, I just wanted to get away from them, not give them any access, close all the doors, and just willingly isolate myself, which can be, not that bad, especially if I'm being productive and positive while being isolated, right? Not letting that get at me. And so, like I said, I did that. I started to cook more. I was focusing on cooking, but I gained weight. And yeah, so I was just getting back to kind of like close that point out there. And so it's been a while since I had a meal like that. It was really good. Um, I would like to share some things about like dieting. One of them is hunger is the best gravy. When I fell off for a while there because of all the harassment, I kind of let myself go a little bit. I isolated myself, which was nice because it felt very healing, not giving them my access. But then also I started eating whatever I want and just letting myself just letting myself allowing myself to just enjoy some food, blah blah blah. So I gained weight and I remember being full, like very full like that. When I would eat, it wasn't as enjoyable. Like I was already full and I would eat again. I had closed all the doors, no access to them, and I'm also trying to like enjoy my life through food as entertainment. But then I eventually realized that it's not as good when you're full. And yeah, hunger is the best gravy. So when I decided, because actually I just realized I was gaining weight, and I decided I don't want to work with them, like I need to be very careful of my health. So I started eating very healthy, and I noticed this benefit. And we've got a lot of like noise going on, and I think now the dog's barking at something out there. I don't know what's going on. Let me just open the door real quick, just to check. Okay. Okay, all is well. So yeah, I discovered that like one of the awesome parts of a diet is like when you do eat something really good, uh, you enjoy it a lot more. Okay. Hola, ¿cómo estás? Uh, Estoy bien. ¿Y tú? Yeah, they'll use like certain songs, certain colors, etc. But just try to, and I get a lot of slamming doors, a lot of loud music. But yeah, just be aware and try not to read in too much. Like maybe you like that song before or something, and then they kind of want to take that away from you and also add a trigger. So not only will they take something that used to make you happy when you hear it, but now it's going to trigger you. Something like that, right? That's possible. Or if you maybe you didn't like that song and then they play it because you don't like it, right? Things like that. Just be aware, be mindful of their attempt, right? Their intent, right? So once you're aware of that, it kind of takes the power away, right? Like in the movie when they're trying to influence you, you kind of realize it. Oh, that music wants to make me feel this way emotionally, but I actually don't agree with the message or intent, right? And it loses its like if you were in the movie but you realize that and you're mindful, then it just loses its power. So that's what I have to share about that. And then let's see. I was talking about healthy eating. Uh, Thank you, everyone. Please click like and please remember to subscribe. We've got 3 viewers. We've had more consistent viewers this live than probably I've ever had on YouTube. I have probably more likes than I've ever had while being live because this video will still be uploaded and it's going to get even more likes. And it makes me happy because I hope it's helping people. You know, I know that this is real. Like, you guys, like, if you're a targeted individual, like, you know that they have so far crossed the line, right? It totally makes sense. It totally makes sense. You know, camaraderie and affirmation is so important for us as targeted individuals. And like I said before, um, even if we've already heard this, like it, I'm not sure about you, but when I hear it again, like, and I already learned that, it kind of rings a bell, and then it refreshes that, and I feel like it's useful because they're going to do that again. They're going to attempt that again. It doesn't matter if they've decided that you figured that out. They'll still do that. And if you're still like, if you're um, listening to another targeted individual talk about this experience and their insight on it, even if you've realized that, it's a refresher versus if you're like listening to their propaganda. And you're mindlessly scrolling, you watch what they want you to see, and then they open the door for like another trigger, or maybe you're like giving your attention to a noise campaign and it's making you feel irritated, right? See what I'm saying? So I totally understand. I totally understand. And that's usually my choice as well, is to listen to other targeted individuals. And I really believe that even if I already kind of discovered that, it can still help to refresh and also clarify it. Because, of course, it's from someone else's perspective, right? So, yeah. And also, can you just read that again? Yeah, the company. Yeah, that's what I wanted to see again because I wanted to make a note on that, and that is us as targeted individuals. This is so serious. I'm getting a flyover and motors at the same time right now, and I feel like it is an important moment. And so it is good to have camaraderie because this is so serious what is happening to our lives and what's being taken away from us. For example, our liberty, our freedom, our peace, right? And our possibilities, right? Those are huge. Those are all huge categories in their own right. So when you have the company of another targeted individual, you really can relate, and that their cause is your cause as well. And it's a serious cause. Like, this has taken so much, and if this changes, it would change our lives unbelievably. Like, it's like you said, it has been going on for a long time, right? So so it can become hard to even imagine like what it would be like for this to like really become exposed and culturally, like, let's say it became a meme or a cultural norm that this is unacceptable and actually totally cruel because it is and you know it. What if that became known, more commonly well known? You know, things would be, that would stop. So many different forms of it. And, you know, the tentacles would have to basically be removed. They would have to remove their tentacles from so many different fields, so many places where we go. They'd have to stop harassing us there. Can you just imagine? And especially if it's happened for a long time. And it is very good to practice, like they say in basketball. If you just imagine shooting the ball into the hoop many times with no practice, none, no physical practice, it makes a huge difference still. But if you were not thinking about basketball at all, and then all of a sudden you have a game, it's different. So it matters that you just bring that to your awareness as a possibility and imagine it every once in a while. Of course, you don't want to live in a dream because then you might, sleep your life away, right? But it does serve as an inspiration, and it is, just because you don't want to sleep your life away and dream only, it's still a key. Like without it, the door's locked. Without that at all, without even thinking that's a possibility, you probably wouldn't even listen to other targets, and you may give up on yourself, and right? So it is very important to be aware that that is possible. It could become a social norm, a meme, people become aware of the impact that this has on a human being, and that it is inhumane, and we know it is. It's covert as it is right now. It's designed to be confusing, but it could be understood. It could. If it was exposed and let's say someone, had enough evidence and they really fought for this, and they really spoke out, that first person that won the case, it would be a crack in the dam, and everything could be completely different, and our lives, we could get so much relief. And possibly even reparations, because like our lives have been seriously impacted, and not only do they need to stop, but we deserve to have our lives be restored and repaired to some degree. But I'm pretty sure, I know speaking for myself, just having it stop would be amazing already. And so sometimes I don't really tend to talk about compensation and reparation, but honestly, like legit, like if someone who was in the know was looking at this, what's happening to us, they would know that we need assistance after what has happened to us. And as it is right now, if we seek help or whatever, they're usually involved. So I'm saying, just imagine if that was no longer allowed and people were aware of this and the tentacles were removed. That's not happening. When you go to get help, it's a person that's not like already there to act and have no emotion and no remorse for you, and just keep on going and just twist everything, right? That's what we receive as it is. Imagine if that wasn't the case and we were not, things were not already set up in advance and they're collaborating in advance, and then we go there and the whole lights, camera, act every single time. Just imagine. We got the same fair treatment. Liberty, I would love to have some liberty from that program, and I would love that the whole world had liberty from that toxic, oppressive program. Okay, let me find my other device. Quick bathroom break. I'll be right back. Awesome. Let's see. Yeah, so with the street level perps and the people behind the scenes, um, one thing is personally feel like the street level perps are more informed and kind of know more, not than the people behind the scenes, but than you might assume. I think they know more of the bigger picture as far as their intent and their goals and what they're trying to do and get a reaction out of you. I'm pretty sure they're aware of that. And they're basically accomplices. And this is devastating to people's lives and their livelihood. They're accomplices, but then again, now on the other hand, it is like the death of a thousand cuts, right? So on that level, I understand how like it may not seem as serious if you just take one individual perp, right? But like I said, I think they are also hip to the goal of what they're doing, and that they're taking part in this death of a thousand cuts, right? Now I'm not sure about that, so I want to point that out. I mean, I'm not, but it seems like it. But what I will say is, there is great relief in that, idea of how if this became a meme and a social norm, and people knew about this, it was common knowledge, right? Think about that. Then they wouldn't really have that excuse. Although it seems like they're the ones who are already in the know of this. Like they don't need, they already kind of taken part in it, and if anyone's in the know about this type of abuse, it's them. Psychological abuse, right? So, and sometimes physical. I've eaten things that made me projectile vomit. I spoke on that in a previous video. Like I was all of a sudden like feeling totally fine, eat something and to the point where like and you want to breathe, but your body still wants to expel whatever that was that you're not breathing. You're gonna keep and then wobble into my room and pass out, and I thought I was dying. Like I'm done. Like goodbye. And then I woke up and like talking weird. I couldn't talk right. And then I ate things that tasted weird, etc. So talk about that stuff. But let me just read this comment again real quick. Yeah. Okay, got it. Okay, so yeah. Um, so if it was common knowledge, that would give them like less excuse. But like I said, if anyone's in the know, besides the people behind the scenes, most of all, and I haven't really addressed that, so I'll get to that in a minute. But those perps seem to kind of know what they're doing, more so than the innocent bystanders that really don't, right? So when you talk about this and they try to make you look crazy, that entails a lot, and there are some ways that you can ward that off. First, I would like to say that um, again, because it's important to really understand. Yeah, and I understand also that it is baked in to the methods that it is covert, confusing, unlikely. They use plausible deniability. There's a lot that goes into what you're saying that they use to make it that way, right? To make us appear crazy to talk about this. No. Thank you for asking, but I've never heard of that person. But yeah, so getting back to this real quick. Yeah, so, okay. Um, One thing that I wanted to say to kind of counter that and ward that off is if you are going to speak out, because it is important for us to advocate for each other. Like that, there is a very good reason that they want to separate us, isolate us. It's very key and important to remember that. And they also use the tactic many I mentioned a moment ago, plausible deniability, in order to make us look crazy when we do talk out, right? But when we talk out, it gives us a chance for others to resonate, right? That's our tribe. That's people that it's happening to. Okay, so there's this like somewhat of a dilemma there. What I would recommend, and I'm not like perfect and I don't know everything, so just my like personal from experiencing this, things that I want to point out in order to ward that off is they may seem so simple, like clipping your nails. Always clipping your nails. Um, and maybe cutting your hair. So I'm gonna get a like a hair cutting device soon because they harassed me before in a really cruel way at the hair cutting place, and I forgive them. I respected them, but I need to cut my own hair, keep my nails clipped. Self care. Stay organized. You'll be less confused. These are wards that ward off that lie. And then if you become an advocate and you're online, you're speaking out, and your nails are clipped, your hair is cut, you're you're um, you're clearly conscious. You're clearly uh, making sense. You're being rational. You also a critical eye. If they try to tell you that it's something really crazy like aliens or whatever, or even who knows what. Like if you're seeing a lot of that and they're really trying to get you to believe that, question it. Why do you keep seeing that in your stream? I've noticed that sometimes, like they keep putting this, and I'm not buying it, but they keep putting. Then I realize, like, oh, like that would discredit me. I start talking about that, or if I believe that, and it's got good music, it's got good production value. It's actually very entertaining. Like for example, History Channel. Oh my God, like that's a lot of fun to watch. Even if sometimes I don't quite believe, and sometimes I do, right? Maybe I love history so much, right? And I love History Channel. Sometimes it's not really true, right? Humans are sometimes they underestimate humans and our capabilities, and they try to say it was aliens and this and that. And it's fascinating, good show, good music. I'm not trying to say it's not good music, good show, good entertainment. But as a target, we need to be even more on our own side. A critical eye, a critical ear, eyes to see, and eyes to hear are invaluable, valuable tools. Okay? Invaluable, does that mean like almost like there's no value you can put on it? It's just beyond gold. Okay, so a critical eye. Okay, so let me kind of consolidate here and be more concise. Self care, cleanliness of yourself, health, and surroundings is key and pivotal not only to your appearance as you appear to others. They try to smear you, but it's not the case clearly when you do that. On top of that, if you're speaking out and all those things are taken care of, that's proof. Plus, if they harass you during that video where your nails are clipped, your house is clean, you're not confused because things are organized. And although they may be noise harassing you, it's been a while, you've developed methods and you are being in your corner. You're in your corner, you've taken care of the cleanliness, etc. So those are some of the tools that I would recommend in that aspect of not allowing them to paint you out as crazy, is to be in your own corner at all times. As targeted individuals, we don't have leeway. We don't have as much comfort. We don't have times where it's okay to just kind of slack. Be on top of things. So, again, clarity and concise. Self care, organization, not paying them your attention. They would love to distract you from taking care of yourself and keeping your house organized. It would really contribute to you looking crazy. A critical eye. When you're like, listen, yeah, everybody knows that, there are algorithms now on YouTube, and what you view for the general public, what they view, they get more of that, right? But targets have people that have access, right? They have power. And, liberty, it goes in direct opposition to liberty and me having my sovereignty and being really able to educate myself without that disinformation and toxicity being hidden and covert. Okay, I don't want to get too complex here. I'm trying to keep things clear and concise. Okay, so a critical eye, okay? Be careful what you consume. That is key to not appearing crazy or playing in, and that's a big one, playing into their hand. That can happen. And please research Stockholm Syndrome as well. So that's what I have to say on those. That's my thoughts on that. Sometimes I can be really roundabout and get this whole huge picture and then wrap it up at the end. Other times I want to be clear and concise right the whole way through. Okay, let's see real quick. Okay, so having longer hair, and if someone having a problem with that being a them problem is so true, 100%. But also, um, people can be superficial. Like these people that they're trying to influence on how you, and I'm not saying cut your hair, by the way. I would never, like, I am for freedom, liberty, and I think it's awesome when people go the other way, like a salmon swims upstream. I think it's so, like, I'm getting goosebumps. I think it's so inspirational. But what I'm talking about right now, as someone who's in danger, and they're spinning the narrative all around you, and you've got a group, and our liberty and our comfort and strength to be like that is somewhat being taken away in these days, and it's something that I'm regretfully having to realize. It is. You see what I'm saying? It is what it is. And if people have these preconceived notions and biases, and it's in their nature to judge you based on that, you're 100% in the right in reality. That's your choice, and it doesn't mean what they may think it means, but as a human being who is imperfect, I hope you can understand what I'm saying, how they would use that. It's wrong. It's imperfect, but we are. they are the third person, the people watching and listening, right? And they are aware of their imperfections and will use it's so evil, right? If you think about it, it's like, and I don't want to get, I'm not someone who gets religious. Like, I see a lot of people who are very well versed in religion. They try to, stay away from becoming too religious, but I think I do a pretty good job of it. But right now in this moment, it's just funny how they play on, how gang stalkers play on those imperfections of humans, and those like oversights, and it's evil because these people who are doing that, they know, they actually know. Whereas the third person who's like maybe judging you based on that, it's just their human nature, right? It's their human nature, and it's actually not right. It's actually wrong. But none of us are perfect, so we can understand how that happens. But then there are people who know that, and if they can distract you from getting a haircut whenever you go to the salon and harass you there, and then distract you every time you think about like maybe buying that, or maybe they can defund you, they can create problems with your car, or things you need to fix because they sabotaged you. You see what I'm saying? They know about those imperfections are actually playing those bystanders watching like a fiddle. Very satanic. And I rebuke it in the name of Jesus Christ. And I believe that if you want to have long hair, uh, totally fine. And I commend you for going your own way. It's amazing, it's inspirational. I would just like to advise you that from my research, people can judge based on sometimes shallow things. I wouldn't say like get a haircut, but okay. So for example, first of all let me check if there's any new replies. Okay, so and then also downstairs. Okay, okay. I hope you're still here. So you mentioned not being able to take a bath without your downstairs neighbor harassing you, and I hope that you can like. So personally, I've noticed that something that is very healing for me, like if they notice that I do that and then I feel better, they'll hit me there. So, but that can be a gift. If you're aware of that, then you know that, oh, wait a minute, they noticed that this is healing for me, so this is healing for me. And so I would recommend using that, like, kind of like really bringing it to your awareness that that's healing for you. And as like, utilize whatever protocols and methods that you can to dispel the effect that they have, and just use it as a reminder to breathe and relax. Okay, let me see. Yeah, so overwhelmed. Yeah, you really can be proud of yourself if you take small steps, just like an oak tree, it's not your fault that you're being limited and attacked. Like, we're human, and just as I extended that compassion for these bystanders who are unaware of this group of people who is aware of their imperfections and will play them like a fiddle, right? I have compassion for them. They don't know that they're being played. So, because of that practice, I'm pretty adept with extending that compassion to myself. And I'm aware that, yeah, even small steps are a big deal for me because I'm being harassed with a group of people, by a group of people who are organized and they're collaborating. They basically talk to each other. They observe us and they see our weaknesses. Like, let's say if we get angry when we're hungry, impatient when we're hungry, whatever, right? They notice that, they're gonna utilize that. And, do I have to be perfect? Do I have to never get hungry and never get impatient when I'm hungry? That's impossible. So I have compassion for myself. I understand that they're just trying to take advantage of me and I'm a human. And it's wrong. At the end of the day, really, that program should just stop. Anyone could fall victim to this. And if it was a social norm and everybody knew about this, they would stop it because this could happen to anybody. We're all imperfect. Like, if they targeted you, you'd be affected. And a lot of people fall off. A lot of people turn to drugs and they don't even take the small steps. They give up. So if you're taking the small steps, you should be proud of yourself. And yeah, it can be overwhelming, but that's not a surprise, you know? Be compassionate for yourself just like you are for others. Um, yeah, so that's what I have to say about that. Yeah, other people are going through this too. I wonder what time it is. I have my other device here somewhere, but I would like to check the time so that I can know if it's really time to eat yet or not, because I feel quite hungry. Okay, let me get my device real quick and check out the time. Oh, I gotta get some chapstick. It's winter and my lips are in chapped. Okay. Okay. Whoa. I had some peanuts and man, when I'm on a diet, man, everything tastes so good because those are raw, unsalted peanuts. And typically, like back in the day, that would have been disgusting. And now it's like, oh man, it's a good snack. And I feel full. Um, Before, whenever I would get hungry, I'd have cook another meal because it would keep me focused off of like the noise harassment and stuff and making sounds of my own, busy. And I also wanted to mention if you don't have a Bluetooth speaker, get a Bluetooth speaker. That will help with the noise campaigns. And uh, like I have over the ear earphones have noise cancellation. So and also another, and you probably already know this stuff, but in case you didn't know one of them or someone listening doesn't know, those really help. Another thing is like in room air conditioner or fan, man, really drowns out that noise. Really wanted to share that. And so, let's check real quick. Whoa, awesome! You're doing it fast. Let me see if the yeah, all right, yeah, wow. You know, I hear of a lot of targeted individuals doing like these super beneficial practices that I don't think most people do. Hello, thank you for joining. I don't think most people do these type of like, but they're very beneficial and it's very detoxifying. You know, I hear a lot about fasts. You know, how it's just very beneficial. So I wanted to share that. I'll probably have to get going and spend some family time soon. Um, but this has been such an honor to be able to share anything that I've learned. And please click like. And it feels kind of funny to say that now after such a serious conversation, but it is very important. So I have to kind of train myself to remember to say, if you haven't clicked the bell, click the bell because you'll get notified when I go live. And okay, so yeah, anything else? I just really appreciate your presence. Let me see real quick. Thank you. All right, thank you very much. I'm trying, you know, I'm trying to be someone who can be of assistance. And if that is achieved, just that, I'm happy, right? Or even just, to provide company, you know, affirmation, let people know that they're not alone, etc. It means everything to me. Okay, so I guess that's it for now. I gotta make sure that I do, give my family some time and everything like that. But other than that, I will be live very frequently, and you're gonna see me like evolve as far as my channel. I'm gonna get a better microphone. I will always continue to research and educate myself when I'm not here. If I'm not spending time helping others, then I'm definitely researching, thinking of new ideas that will liberate us from this toxic oppression. We're humans and we don't deserve this level of abuse. Okay? I'm here for you. Remember that our lives are so different and we're so deprived as targeted individuals, And if things were to change, they would be so different, especially for us. And there is a new level of gratitude that we have achieved that very few people could ever experience. If we unlock our liberty, we would have gratitude like most people could not experience. That's what I want to share with you today. Thank you for watching. I usually don't repeat like what I read in the text because one of my favorite TikTok people who's very hilarious, and also people on YouTube, the people in the comments will have them say stuff that, like for example, I don't know what that means, and it might have some kind of connotation that I don't know. So typically I don't do that, but please forgive me. Please understand. I don't usually. I mean, I avoid repeating, uh, especially because it could be a trigger for someone. We gotta be careful. We never know, like as TIs. If you're a TI, then you know that there are perps out there who would love you to trigger someone they're abusing. I don't want to do that. But yeah, so please understand, and if you're empathetic and everything, especially if you're TI. So for all the TIs out there, I'm here for you. I'm dedicated. I'm committed to this cause. Remember, we must unite, and it is vital that we do not let the world, we do not let this type of a program become pervasive on humanity. Like, we know what they're doing. They do that to us. That program could expand. Like, most people someday could be this oppressed. That could happen. Or it could go the other way. And liberty could reign instead. That's what I'm here for. And I'll never stop. Thank you for watching.